Everybody, welcome back. It is the Razzball Fantasy Football Podcast. I am Beat joined by the one, the only Rudy Gamble. How's it going over there, Rudy?
It is going okay. Yeah, not another week. Week 9.
Another week. Some injuries, some people coming back. It was a very interesting week. I don't know if it worked out for you and your matchups, but like all my matchups were actually really close this week, which was an exciting change from just blowouts and getting blown out, which seems to be more of this season. Just kind of the way that the players are hitting.
Yeah, I think I got the league winner on I got on my fishbowl was one where I should have won the week, but I didn't because I had over 200 points. It just didn't. With Jordan Love, I still had over 200 points, but I ran into a buzzsaw. I did see my Razzball team is in first place in my league, and that's pretty impressive given I've lost Godwin and Shaheed. Yeah, but one of the big pickups was Cedric Tillman. I picked up Tillman and Means for like $1 each. Means didn't do much, but Tillman did. So yeah, that definitely helped.
Yeah, I think I'm second in my Razzball League. I'm 40th somewhere in the 40s.
I'm like 30th.
And Scott Fish, I lost by like less than 3.5 points because Jordan Love left the game pretty much. So
and he wasn't good when he was there.
Really no, he wasn't, but he would have. I would assume he was going to get 3.5 more points.
Yeah,
across the game at some point. Hopefully, he would have done that. But nobody cares what happened to our teams. Let's move on. Let's talk about what's going on in the league. Diontae Johnson, after all the trades last week, only one so far this week. Diontae Johnson goes to Baltimore of all places. We were imagining all these landing spots, and he goes to Baltimore. I guess the question to ask now is, who do you trust in Baltimore's receiving core, if anybody? Who can we trust as a pass catcher? Obviously, we're starting Henry and Lamar.
Right. And I mean, it's hard to sit Flowers, but he's never been a guy I've particularly been targeting. But at least, I mean, it's crazy. He's had 2 12 target games in the last 4. Zay. He also had a 1 target game. But the other one was 9. So he's been, the question is, and Bateman's just been unusable, right?
He had one good week, I believe, and that was it. I mean, that's been the whole season.
Right. So the tight ends it's hard to trust. I don't like when I think like who would be who's a good quarterback that'd be a less than ideal match for Diontae. I kind of think Lamar. I don't see that as being like a great combo. I feel like Diontae is a guy that, for a guy who likes to get the ball, like maybe a Derek Carr, like somebody who likes to get the ball out quick, and who can get open in 4 seconds. So, versus being someone who's super improvisational, I don't know. So I have Diontae in at least one league. I'm not starting him, especially because he's been a little. Well, maybe he's been injured in the same way Devontae Adams was injured. I'm not. It's just that's not it's a good trade for him in terms of playing in a good franchise again. But that's not going to be good for fantasy.
Yeah, I mean, it's good for real football. It gives them a receiver that does something that they don't have out of their receiver core. I mean, Zay Flowers is amazing, but route running and quick routes is not his thing, nor Bateman, Aguilar. Like it gives them good depth. It gives them a receiver that's different for them. So I think who it actually is going to hurt is Isaiah Likely, because I think they're going to go from a lot of two receiver sets, which is what they've been running, two receiver, two tight end. I think that goes a little bit more three receiver, one tight end. And I think that cuts into Isaiah Likely. I think we've slowly seen Andrews work his way back to health via targets, how he looks on the field, snaps. Like it's all moving in the right direction for Andrews. So I feel like they're going back to where Andrews is the one tight end, Flowers, and I assume Diontae, once he gets up to speed, will be the two primary outside. But I think what this does is, like I said, I think this moves them more three wide receiver sets, which ultimately I think hurts Likely. So you can probably drop him if you haven't already, because he was getting targets, but they were really kind of very short yardage, not.
And that is where Diontae
targets.
Johnson would seemingly play a role.
Yeah.
So
exactly.
I see it both in terms of scheme and your formation, but also just that element, that area of the field. Yeah. I mean, I think we've said even Andrews, if you want to cut him, it's just
I think Andrews. I mean, I think Andrews is potentially back to becoming the number one option in this offense, because I think Flowers is going to lose some of the targets he's been getting are because they don't have anybody else to run those routes.
Okay.
And now they have somebody else to run them. But
maybe I mean, the fact that we haven't seen, I mean, Andrews hasn't top 5 targets this year, I don't think. Yeah, so I still would have Zay 1, but yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this somehow could help Andrews. But
yeah, I think it's more about the tight end position than Andrews being, fully back. But I do think Andrews is moving in the right direction. I wouldn't cut him necessarily. I also wouldn't be trading for him. I think there's tight ends I would look at if I wanted to trade for one. I think if anything, I might try and trade him away if you own him, just because while this was very nice to see from a snaps and targets perspective, you are right. He's still splitting a lot of work. But we'll see what it looks like after this week. Although, let's talk about the traded wide receivers in general and how you approach them. Diontae, this will be his first week in Baltimore. I think you start Zay Flowers comfortably. I think you start Andrews if you've been starting them. But we've seen with Devontae, Hopkins, and Amari, like their involvement is very sprinkled in. Devontae, he's been playing every snap because it's just him and Rodgers doing whatever they want to do. But Hopkins and Amari, like they're being slowly acclimated to the offense. Amari got the touchdown his first week. I do think that's maybe a built-in thing where they put in some red zone options for these guys so that it's good to get a new player a touchdown if they can. But you're basically like you're kind of treating them like, at least the way I think of it, you're thinking of it like as a mid-tier tight end where like they might score, but if they don't, you're probably not getting a whole lot.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts?
It's what we're seeing. I mean, it's the interesting limitation on in-season trades in NFL. For baseball, baseball is the easiest one to plug and play because
basketball at this point is pretty easy. There's not a lot of offenses being run.
You'd think it would be tougher. In basketball, but
it's all ISO now in the NBA. So it's just plug and play with ISO guys.
Yeah, but clearly with the wide receivers, there seems to be some challenge there. I mean, I'd see it more as like a 1 week blip, but Yeah, so I think first week, I think it's good to be conservative on it. And then the question is also, I think I would have started Amari that first week just because Buffalo really didn't have. It's just been a hole at wide receiver, and that's you have Josh Allen there. Diontae in the Baltimore offense. You don't need to start him this week.
Yeah, he might not be a start at any point, much less this week.
And I mean, and the Hopkins one is really a question mark. I didn't see what his line was last week.
It was not impressive.
Yeah, I mean, there is just a concern that Hopkins might be, on the downside.
Yeah.
It's also the Chiefs' offense it's just so. It's crazy how an Andy Reid offense, I don't know, maybe it's regressing to like old Philly days. Like where it was like, remember Philly was getting to championship games with wide receivers with no stat lines whatsoever. Like before the whole Macklin, Deshaun Jackson, they had those biggest scrubs. James Thrash, some other scrub who married the Playboy bunny,
and
then you had Freddie Mitchell. Like you really, and McNabb had like very good, but he never came close to an MVP. But he was
he did the 1 year with Owens.
Yes, well that's I'm saying like yes, you had the 1 year with Owens but it feels like you've gone from like the Chiefs being just this juggernaut offense to just one that's like just trying to win, and you can't really trust any. So I think the issues with Hopkins transcend this construct of this trade question. With Davante Adams, who the hell, I'd probably start him, but the Jet year is certainly not going so well.
Yeah, more or less starting him because of the inconsistency and injuries at the position.
Yeah.
Than anything else. I mean, if you have 3 healthy receivers,
right? I'm just saying,
like, absolutely. If you got like CD, Devontae Smith, and fill in the blank of third receiver, like, absolutely,
totally. Well, it's also worth noting that not only did Aaron Rodgers and Davante Adams play together and do so well together, so you're not starting from scratch.
Yeah,
but like the offense itself is pretty much the same back shoulder nonsense and whatever they.
Yeah, Aaron Rodgers does what he does, and the receivers are either going to adjust and run the option route that Aaron Rodgers wants them to run every single time, or Aaron Rodgers is going to yell at them and get them benched.
Throw them under the bus. Yeah. So, but yes, I think it has been a lot. It felt, I don't remember this many trades. And for the Diontae Johnson one couldn't have been for less.
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like, what are the rest of the teams?
It wasn't even
in the NFL doing. If that's what it took, if that's all it took, then what is going on, and why are wide receivers being paid as much as they are? If this is how they're treated in the trade market, like, it feels more like trading a running back or a safety, than trading a wide receiver at this point, based off of the money.
I do wonder if some of it is salary, like if everyone's maxed at salary cap, if there's any ramifications there. But I mean, you look at Baltimore, like you don't, like I would say, in a perfect world, maybe Flowers is your second receiver, your second wide. Maybe he's not your WR1. Say that maybe that's being a nitpicky. I'd say Bateman is not a top 2 wide receiver on a lot of teams. And Aguilar is just kind of a guy. So it's like, so it feels like a pretty nice upgrade for them to get Diontae. And for it to be like a 5th round pick, but you get a 6th round back, so it's really just trading
just
down
round up
from 5th to 6th. And whatever the money is doesn't even matter. It's like all rounding error given how NFL. So pretty well, does show that it's you can't get, there's no such thing as like I feel like with basketball it's all about stashing 1st round picks, and baseball it's all about prospects, and like football doesn't have either. Like or you're not gonna get like to get a 1st round pick in the NFL is gonna those don't come out easy. You basically it's like a quarterback or like an insane
it's
defensive
4 other
player.
1st round picks. Like you get 1st round picks by trading high 1st round picks.
Yeah. So it's just that. So, but in any case, so yeah, we'll see with we'll see with with Diontae, but we're generally sellers.
And I think historically trades in general haven't gone really well for that player for our game, at least comparatively to what we thought. There are certainly examples. There's the individuals who did it, but it doesn't typically work out. And this is part of the reason is because it takes them 2, 3, 4 weeks to get in the offense, and that time in our season, that's a quarter, a fifth of the season, depending on how long that takes. So you're just missing them for that kind of time, even if they eventually are good. But yeah, I think I would start Devontae, like we said. D-Hop, you're just it's a flip of a coin. Like you're just seeing what's going to happen there. Amari, I mean, I feel like the upside is there, but I feel maybe even less confident than Devontae just because we still haven't seen the snaps out of Amari. Well, he should jump up into like the 60, 70% this week, I think.
Yeah.
All right, let's move over to Indianapolis, where they have officially made a decision. Anthony Richardson is out. Joe Flacco is in. Nothing like burying, your franchise in week 9 when your team is not good anyways.
It's
and I mean it's a winnable division, I guess.
Yeah, I mean I'm hearing that thing about asking out a play is not that drives a lot of football players mad for a quarterback to get a breather. I don't know. I mean, I think and that might alone be worth the 1 week benching.
It's not a great look.
No, it's and I mean it did seem like there's a bunch of drops and everything. But I don't know, I'm kind of the mindset that like we just had to forget that Josh Allen ever existed. And it's like, but the key, it's like I don't know what you expected from Anthony Richardson. This was Anthony Richardson. So this is just an awful evaluation, or awful coaching, awful training. But you've got him an extra 2 years, so I just don't. I can't really overreact to it. You're 4-4. You have a chance at playoffs. It's been a choppy time post Andrew Luck in Indianapolis. I'm not totally plussed by it. If Flacco doesn't do bad, you definitely don't look dumb for putting him back in. But just like with Bryce Young, I think it feels a little more clear right now. It's like I don't think Anthony Richardson is gonna pan out to be like a great quarterback. That some of those deficiencies, I just don't see how they go away. And it's probably he's unlucky in a way that he's in this era that because teams will do so much to scheme out the deep pass right now that maybe in other eras where it's just like what could I do? I have one safety. The other safety must protect against the run. And now it's just like, screw it. I'm play cover 5. I don't care.
Yeah.
So I think he might be a bit in bad error, but like, I mean, if I told you, how about I gave you his quarterback skills and just said a tank who could, like, imagine a Cam Newton, but he can't throw anything really well, short or intermediate, but he could throw deep, and you'd be like, yeah,
So
that's
fast
not
Jamarcus Russell.
right. You'd be like, that's not who that. I don't think I'm winning a Super Bowl with that. Like, I mean, Cam Newton was like, yeah, I don't think if you told me like Cam, I mean, I forget how good Cam Newton was at
Cam
passing.
Newton was really good.
No, I know the running, but he was a much better passer than Anthony Richardson.
I mean, his passing was still very questionable, but yeah, I mean, it's definitely better than Anthony
right.
Richardson.
He never had good wide receivers. It seemed. I know he must have had Steve
He
Smith
didn't
for a
have.
while.
I mean, he has Steve Smith
For a little bit, yeah. But yeah, so we'll see. I think so. The Flacco thing should definitely, it's going to hurt Jonathan Taylor because now basically there's no you don't have to like you could just, if it looks like it's going to be a handoff, you could go at Taylor full bore. You don't have to worry about it being pulled away and run by Richardson because Flacco's not going to do it. It feels like Alec Pierce did better with. Did Alec Pierce always seem to do better with Richardson? Was he the one wide receiver that did better with him?
I mean, better is a very small thing because Alec Pierce is basically unusable with Joe Flacco. But yeah, Pierce benefited by having a couple of big weeks because he was really the deep target guy. When he came in and when it ran, it was usually deep, and that's
right.
where
So
his game came from.
Right. So, I mean, the Pittman's been pretty disappointing.
Oh yeah.
I mean, yeah, it's fair to say like not. It feels like he hasn't been right all year either. But it's got to be weird to have like a quarterback like Richardson. I mean, Downs feels like the most consistent, the best floor of the group, but I think he's even questionable coming into this week. I don't know if he's always questionable though, in terms of injury stuff. But I mean, I wouldn't go. I'd roll dice on Downs and Pittman and just hope that there's another week of Flacco magic.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's Downs is traditionally been Flacco's bailout. Pittman, I just don't know how you can start him at this point. He's been so awful.
I mean, did he just I mean, he's just playing through something, isn't it?
I mean, he's definitely banged up. He's dealing with kind of this lingering back thing that just it won't go away. He's definitely not.
He played 95%. He played 95% of snaps last week.
He's definitely not healthy, but they have him running out there. I mean, he's gutting it out. As you mentioned, Downs dealing with a toe, so we'll see what's going on with him. But assuming everybody plays, which has kind of been the MO all season with the Colts receivers, Downs is probably, as weird as it sounds, probably the one. Pittman's the 2. I mean, Pittman's he seems very decoy.
Yeah.
This season, he just doesn't have the speed. He's not separating at all. Like, it's just not there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not excited about any of them. I think Downs at best is a like a high end flex play, maybe not even high end, maybe just a flex play.
Yeah, I was gonna check. Let me see where I've got on the projection side. Let me see the ranks. So the best. Wow! Right now I've got it really nice projection for Josh Downs.
At Minnesota, I believe Minnesota's been pretty awful against the pass this season. That's the only thing I can really think of. And again, Downs traditionally does well.
Yeah, I think it's just partially because no one else, there. Yeah, no, I mean, I think it might just be very. Let me try to say this in terms of projected targets. I have him 7th as like just of target volume, and you start there. That's really nice. So yeah, Downs is kind of a screaming thing, and yeah, I mean Pittman, I feel like I've got projected for like a dead cat bounce, but yeah, more like a flex play.
And you can't start any tight ends there because they have. They had 4. Now they have 3 because Jelani Woods just went on season and IR, I believe. But they have 3 tight ends, and none of them are. They won't let any of them play enough to be useful. So,
right. So I don't know. I feel okay. Yeah, enough about that.
Yeah, let's move off of the Colts. That's not even a useful situation, really. We're just telling you not to start these people. Let's talk about somebody who's really, really nice this week, and that is Jahmyr Gibbs. He's been really nice for several weeks. 11 rushes, 127 yards, a touchdown, 1 reception for 6 yards. The 11 carries seems weird. Where does he fit for you among running backs rest of season? Like, is this a potential sell high opportunity? He's had a few good weeks. Not the ideal closing schedule, I believe, as everything stands right now. Obviously, that's subject to change. But what do you think about Jahmyr Gibbs? Obviously, when he's on the field, he's great.
Right. I mean, I haven't basically projected at like RB8 for the rest of the year. When I look at, but he's pretty consistently, this week I'm a little less bullish on him. I mean, the at Green Bay matchup, but generally around like RB8, RB9, RB10. I mean, I think it's first and foremost about the fact that this team's so explosive and they score so much and there's enough to go around. If this was a normal scoring team, having a guy like David Montgomery sharing the backfield with is not ideal because he's going to get his rushing touchdowns. But I mean, Gibbs had 5 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks. I don't project him. I mean, his projection per game is, where do I have him at? 12 to 13 rushes a game. It's fine. I mean, his targets aren't off the chart. That's one thing that's a little weird compared to, let's say, like we've seen from other running backs.
Yeah.
And maybe in a closer game we'd see more. So I wouldn't mind seeing more than 3 targets a game, 3 or 4 targets. But yeah, it's to say like RB9. I at some point basically, yeah, it's been crazy how many points they've been putting up. Doesn't help. I mean, Green Bay, but I mean even they're. I mean, they've got a tough, like, at Chicago, at San Francisco, 16 and 17 will not be fun, maybe if you're talking about playoffs, but otherwise, they just get to play in domes so damn much. So they got to go at Green Bay, but it's probably not going to be cold. And they got like at Houston. That's a dome, isn't it? Or if it's not a dome, it can be a dome. And they have at Indy. They're playing in domes pretty much for like all the way up through week 15. Aside from this, so yeah, it's just ride Detroit. It's hard with the running back situation. That would be my take.
Yeah, I mean, I think like you're taking Henry, Saquon, Kyron. I would put Mixon there. I
Yep.
feel like he's shown he deserves it. Jonathan Taylor, I would probably put above him just because we know Taylor's getting all the work there. That just makes me feel a little bit more comfortable. The only other guys I can think that would even be in that discussion would be like you put Gibbs in that next group. You put like Bijan, DeAndre Swift's been really good after a slow start. Aaron Jones, when he's been healthy and on the field, has been good. Maybe Breece Hall and PPR.
Yeah.
But those are the only guys I like. That's 5 guys after those, those top 4 or 5. Like that's the group. There's kind of 5 through 10, and you can kind of look at them in any number of ways that you want to look at them in regards to, like, do you want hyper efficiency with Gibbs? Do you want 80% of the workload with Taylor? Bijan again is more in the Gibbs mold. Swift is really all these guys are kind of in that same mold. Maybe that's why we're talking about them here instead of the Henry, Barkley, Kyron Mixon group. So
right. Crazy thing I was looking at. I haven't heard this, so probably has anyone been mentioning the touchdown streak for David Montgomery?
Yes, I think I hear it about every 3 seconds.
Okay.
On the Detroit broadcasts.
Okay, I don't listen to the broadcast, but yeah, I'm looking at his game log. It's like that's 11 straight games with a touchdown. That is pretty crazy.
I think he missed
in the games he might have missed a game, but in games he's played.
Did he have one 2 weeks ago? I didn't think he had one week 7.
Nope, I haven't. Yeah, he had a rushing touchdown.
Okay.
No, I wasn't even looking at receiving touchdowns. I don't think he hasn't had any. No worries there. Yeah, but yeah, basically back through to week 16 last year, he has a touchdown every game with 2 against Dallas.
Yeah, he's been great. Gibbs is doing a lot of the legwork to get him there, but Montgomery's also been, putting up yardage too. It's not like he's just LeGarrette Blunting 1-yard vultures. Like Montgomery looks really good.
Right. Yeah. So both. You start both for now.
Bears could have just kept Montgomery, and they wouldn't have had to do any of this nonsense. But hey, that's a different discussion. Speaking of different discussions, let's move on. Let's play a little game here. Gray might have gotten a little upset. I don't know who ratted on us, but he might have gotten a little upset that we stole the Anchorman game. So we're doing a different game. We're going to do a Dumb and Dumber themed game here. 4 options for you. Totally redeem yourself. That's a must start, or you're fully buying in. So you're saying there's a chance that means there's a good option, not necessarily fully bought in, or maybe a matchup play. Samsonite, I was way off. Maybe not great, but there's still some hope. And then there's our pets are falling off. Our pets' heads are falling off, and that means our pets' heads are falling off.
Okay.
Let's start with Lad McConkey. He had a big day. 6 targets, 6 receptions, 111, 2 touchdowns. Lad had a very nice day. Where does this fit on the scale here for you?
I feel like it's, so you're saying there's a chance. I'm trying to think, like, who was. I know the matchup. I know I had him projected. I had him projected quite high compared to everything else. I don't like the Chargers receiving crew. That was against New Orleans. Interesting. Yeah, I think so. You're saying there's a chance on him. I'm trying to look at now his schedule for the rest of. At Cleveland this week, but he's got a Baltimore matchup. I've got him as a guy who's a 20 in the 20 to 30 range. I feel like that's, so you're saying there's a chance. There should be some spike weeks.
Yeah. I think that's saying there's a chance. I will say that is kind of week to week from me, depending on the health of the rest of that receiver room. While it is not a good receiver room,
right?
There was literally nobody standing this week. Like it was Ladd, it was Josh Palmer, and they called up Jalen Reagor from the practice squad.
Oof.
Like
Well, I mean, I guess who else do you have there? Quentin.
Quentin's and banged up. He's missed the last 2
Yeah.
games. DJ Shark's practice window's been opened up, so he's got to return, I think, in the next 2 weeks.
No.
Because I think it was opened up last week. Brandon Rice is hurt. Darius Davis got hurt.
But doesn't it? But isn't it? I mean, is it too like simple to just be like, I feel like Herbert's done. The guy who's benefited the most from Herbert as a wide receiver in his career has been Keenan Allen, and Ladd McConkey is a lot closer to Keenan Allen than any of those other guys.
Yeah, no, I think
everyone else screams like Mike Williams.
Yeah, maybe DJ Shark. He's got some savvy veteran moves.
No, he's so Mike Williams.
He is, but he's also never going to see the field because he's always hurt. It's not going to matter.
Right? No, so I mean it. Yeah, I feel like the thing that would stink for a McConkey would be like if they got a Diontae Johnson type, or
Yeah.
So, but basically, it feels like that roster is. I mean, Josh Palmer doesn't fit in that category, but Josh Palmer just feels like a general like tease of a wide receiver. I just don't see like anyone, So, yeah, I'm going. Yeah. So you're saying there's a chance with McConkey? I like his situation right now. Who do we got next?
Cedric Tillman. Is he the new Browns wide receiver 1? 9 targets, 7 receptions, 99 yards. 2 touchdowns. Thought this might be the time for Judy to break out. It might be somebody else.
I mean, they've got and you still have Elijah Moore there. So you've got
he got the team leading targets.
So I'd go. Let's see. I think that might be a little more Samsonite. I was way off. Maybe not great. Still some hopes. That's like the Samsonite we're talking about. The luggage that he steals.
Yeah. Swanson, Samsonite. I was way off.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember. I'll go.
Going Samsonite.
I don't trust that offense as much, and like it's just that. Who the hell knows with Winston? It could be I think we need to see another week there. I just it could very well be that Tillman's just one of those guys that has some spike week potential. And Cleveland's had those in the past. I'm sure Donovan Peoples-Jones put up an occasional good week and stuff.
Couple touchdowns. Yeah.
Just a weird kind of offense to project. Yeah. Okay. Who's next?
I wanted to say he was so you're saying there's a chance, but I think I'm with you. I think he's Samsonite, just because there's so much spread in the targets. And Jameis is honestly kind of always been like that. I know you can kind of point to the Godwin and Evans targets, but they were the only ones out there running. Like he was still splitting it up.
That's been wide receiver. That's been quarterback independent. It could. It's a tough one to project. I mean, it wouldn't be surprising if they traded another one of those wide receivers, but I don't know.
No, it wouldn't be surprising if Judy or Elijah Moore was on the move. Anybody wanted them. I don't know that anybody wants Elijah Moore. Maybe Judy, but
I think they're going to trade Elijah Moore and a 4th round pick and get back a 5th round pick.
I mean, that would be better than what got traded for Diontae. So
no,
get that done.
Oh, you missed it. I said they were going to trade him in a 4th round for a 5th round pick,
just to get him moved, just to free up some more space. See what Jamari Thrash or Kadarius Toney might be able to do for him.
I didn't even know Kadarius Toney was on Cleveland.
He's on the practice squad. He's on their practice squad. So yeah, I mean, again, it might be Elijah Moore week. It could be a Jerry Jeudy week. I'm not.
I
want like picking up Tillman, but that's about as far.
I want to start an expansion team and get Kadarius Toney and Anthony Richardson on it. Let's just see what happens.
Just put some speed on the field.
Take turns being quarterback.
Maybe we can get Jalen Wright in like a year or two when the Dolphins cut him too and add him to that roster.
Jalen Rieger. It's
just so much speed.
A whole bunch of guys that, it's like, oh, the skills. But
where's can DHB still run? Can we bring him back? Let's talk about your team. Tyrone Tracy, is this the breakout? Are we finally? Did the Giants have?
Well, he's in concussion protocol.
Saquon? He is. But
I mean, I think. I was glad Barkley. I'm glad Barkley gets to shine. It's such a great guy, really good player. And probably just not a great match with some of the schemes. They never figure. Tracy's looking great. I don't see how any of that. Nothing's looking fluky there with Tracy. I gonna have concerns about, can he hold up as a guy that didn't really run that much in college? There's definitely precedence of it. I mean, Josh Jacobs didn't have a ton of carries, and you had all those. Antonio Gibson. I mean, that's not a good precedent. I mean, Tracy's looking good. It doesn't really matter because it's just a running back. But Tyrone Tracy and Neighbors is a pretty nice addition to an offense that had nothing.
Yeah, no, it looks really good right now.
Yeah, it stinks. And then of course they're left. Andrew Thomas goes out for the year. Like it just feels like that. If they could have just got everyone healthy. It
was looking good with Thomas there. Just as soon as he left.
I don't know. I mean, they didn't. It wasn't an embarrassing loss at Pittsburgh. I'll say that really felt like it was. Both teams had trouble converting. Red zone chances into touchdowns instead of field goals, kind of like Russ hit on one or two big plays. So I'd say with Tracy, so you're saying there's a chance. I think I don't expect him to play this week because of the concussion. I was surprised how quickly they basically just moved Singletary aside. That was
pretty surprising. I mean, they were like, no, we're not even giving you right. Well, that tells respectable amount of carries. You are now the backup.
Right. And that really spoke to okay, they must be seeing something also in practice. It wasn't just what we saw, because to be that confident on it, I think there's some signal there. So there's saying there's a chance. I mean, it's so hard to go from showing that to being able to stay healthy for a 10-game stretch, which is kind of like what we dream of with the fantasy stuff. The same thing that has kept the chain from kind of being potentially top 5 running back, right? And why, in a lot of ways, when you look at Detroit and be that should be the model. When everyone says, "Oh, I wish that we need to go back to bell cows. We can only find the guys." It's what aren't you seeing? If basically you can keep, if you could peel away 20% of the wear and tear, that makes it more likely to get hurt, and just spread it out between 2 guys, you do it. But I feel in their own ways, Atlanta and the Jets are doing that a little bit. As long as your second running back isn't awful.
I think teams have gotten obviously teams have gotten a lot better about that. I think the teams that are still giving bulk carries, like it's much more aimed at the guys who have separated themselves to get it. Like
either that or it's it's a few week bet. Like there was no that. I mean, the 40. How much money would you have bet that there's no way Jordan Mason's getting through this year. Kieran Williams has been able to stay healthier than I would have thought. Right. I mean, Derrick Henry's just a freak. So yeah, who knows? All right, who else? Who's next?
All right. Well, I would say I'm moving Tyrone Tracy fully into totally redeem yourself.
You're fully.
I think he's the starter when healthy. I think he's somebody you want in your lineup. I don't know that he's sneaked into RB1 territory just because there's a lot of established guys in that territory.
I'll agree with that. That he's definitely where like Lad McConkey, it's like I wouldn't say you have to lock him into your lineup.
But it's kind of like what else you got?
But I mean I don't see how. But yeah, Tyrone Tracy's a little bit ahead. Okay.
I mean you can't sit him down. Like if you're asking me like
assuming he clears,
if he plays this week, are you starting him or are you starting J.K. Dobbins, who has more points on the season, more points per game? Like, and just like it should be Dobbins, but I would be starting Tracy because of what he's been showing. Like, he's been great.
I'm maybe I just might be heartbroken a little bit too much, but
I appreciate that you won't just give it to him as a fan. Over in Cincinnati, have they officially made the switch from Zach Moss over to Chase Brown, or is this just more of the same of what we've been saying about Cincinnati every week?
No, I mean, if anything, Chase Brown's gone down in snaps the last 3 weeks. I remember, and Moss has been creeping up. He got up to 52% last week. So I think it's a healthy share. I think they definitely they would not mind it with Chase if Chase Brown really grabbed the job and ran. But no, I mean I think Brown. I'd still prefer Brown, but yeah, I mean. I think the weirdest part about it is more the usage. So the snapping was one thing, but I'm pretty sure if I remember it right, like Moss out targeted him and out pass yarded him.
Same number of targets. Moss had more yards, but Chase Brown had 7 more rushing attempts, and a rushing touchdown, which does seem like a role reversal from
there's
how the team had been using the two.
But you're right. But I guess the weird thing is that the hope with Chase Brown, I think, was my hope because I drafted him in both the Razzball and Fishbowl was he'd be a little bit like a Gibbs. And yeah, I mean, I guess he has pulled away a bit on the rushing, but not on the receiving game, which is like kind of the more fun part of it. Yeah, I guess we could. I mean, to an extent, yes. Maybe he's more at least the 1A to the 1B, but Moss getting on the field 50% of the time tells me it's still not it's still not quite there. It's not as strong as the Tyrone Tracy usage.
Yeah, I think this is squarely in the Samsonite category because you're going to be way off whether you start Brown or Moss. You're going to get it wrong. It's not a high upside play unless one of them stumbles in for multiple touchdowns.
Right now they are playing Vegas this week.
That helps.
Yeah, so I mean, I think Chase Brown is a guy that you could start pretty easily this week. We'll see where I end up.
I don't feel good about starting either of them. It feels like a terrible situation to have to start either of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't start Moss, but I'd start Chase Brown this week.
All right, that's fair enough. Let's move on. Calvin Austin III had 7 targets, 6 receptions, 111 yards, 1 touchdown. Is Russ gonna be able to sustain 2 receivers?
Oh man, this feels like this is definitely Samsonite, if not the 4th one. I don't trust Calvin Austin the 3rd. No way. Like that's just I mean, he definitely had that one deep pass, and he had the kick return, he had the punt return too. So he had like, I think that's just known as the Calvin Austin game. I'm not buying that stuff at all.
Yeah. Samsonite, close to the Pets' heads are falling off just because he does have big playability. We saw it this week, but that's about as good as you can hope for. He's still wide receiver 3 in an offense that's still not one you're really excited about from a passing standpoint, other than George Pickens. Right. I guess this just shows, maybe there could be pop-ups. If you're looking for flyer wide receivers or flyer flex plays, I suppose you could do worse, but he's again the 3rd receiver in the Steelers offense.
Right.
Let's move over to Carolina. Let's talk about a couple of wide receivers here. Jalen Coker, Xavier Legette. Adam Thielen's also returning maybe this week, maybe never. Who knows with Adam Thielen? So we'll wait and see what happens there. But let's talk about Coker and Xavier Legette. Coker had 4 receptions, 78 yards, and a touchdown. Legette had 4 receptions for 34 yards and a touchdown. So both actually fairly successful from our standpoint because they found the end zone. Can you trust either of them though as we move forward?
No, they'd be in like the Samsonite category. I don't trust anything with Carolina. I think we saw like I don't trust anything there. It feels that is such a crap team.
Yeah. In a non-PPR league, I could see Xavier Legette being a flex wide receiver because he does seem to be the touchdown guy, but that's as far as I'm going with the Carolina passing game. This is a whole lot of Pets' heads are falling off. Moving over to Tampa Bay, obviously they're down a couple of options in their passing game. Cade Otton goes 10 targets, 9 receptions, 81 yards, 2 touchdowns. What category are you throwing Cade Otton in? Is this real?
I'll be generous and I'll give him the. So you're saying there's a chance? I give that. I'm not a huge believer in him, but that was very impressive that their passing game didn't really go off the rails without Godwin and Evans. Hard to be too, you can't give too much credence to their wide receivers. So if you said this last week, I wouldn't have bet on it. But after this happened, that is a relevant data point. Now, how easy is it to get to guard, to scheme against the tight end who might not be like otherworldly athleticism? I don't know. But yeah, I'd say you gotta. That was pretty eye opening of a game. Granted, on National Tight End Day or whatever nonsense that is. I don't know. There's basically, they do the pink. They wear the pink for breast awareness. Did they just basically like wear a ribbon of like an annoying friggin' 260-pound white guy? Like I feel like that would be the National Tight End Day. It's just like some awful mix of Gronk, Kelsey, and Kittle. It's like, just stop talking. That's all I ask. Stop talking, tight ends.
Yeah. So saying there's a chance. I feel like that's the right area. It's also very dependent on Mike Evans not being around, because I feel like when he comes back, he's just going to take every target available and they'll go all towards him.
I don't know. I feel like I don't think he's ever really been that. He's never. It's just this weird equilibrium with, like, he's never been a super duper target hog. So I think there's still a. I mean, he might, that would just make Otton the Robin to his Batman. But there's still, because I mean Godwin did well. I mean, with Godwin out, there's no one even. There's two huge holes. So Otton still has potential. I mean, I like Jalen McMillan. I'd like to see. Yeah, he put up something last week, didn't he?
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're picking somebody up, he's him. He had 7 targets, 4 receptions, 35 yards. He had a rush for 17 yards as well. The only one that had more receiving yards was Raheem Jarrett, who had 3 receptions, 58, but he played less than 30% of the snaps. So if you're looking at anybody, it would be Jalen McMillan.
Okay.
All right, let's move on. While we're on tight ends, a couple more here. Adam Trautman goes 4 for 85 and a touchdown. You know, this was an interesting case in Denver where they just, kind of felt, maybe it was just National Tight End Day and that's what they wanted to do.
I mean, I'm going, that's Samsonite. I'm not buying Trautman. I mean, that's getting closer to the fool's gold. He could be something. I mean, I'd certainly bet on him over Dulcich, who clearly has like some.
I mean, I think he was matching this one now, so they're out. They're done with him.
Yeah. So Samsonite.
Yeah, I'm going Samsonite as well. I think it's interesting enough in a 15 or 16 team, 20 team, if he wasn't already owned, to grab him. In a normal league, I don't think there's enough. He, the targets looked okay. He obviously got the touchdown, 56% of the snaps. They got Nate Adkins playing 48%. Lucas Kroll played 37%. It could be any one of those 3 guys next week if one of them finds the end zone that you want to start. Let's move over to Cleveland one last time. David Njoku, 5 receptions, 61 yards, and a touchdown. Obviously, we have the changeover in quarterback. We talked about Cleveland earlier. We probably should just talked about Njoku while we were there, but let's talk about him in our game and give him a number.
Oh, he's definitely in the Samsonite category. Or no, sorry. I
don't know. Chance?
There's definitely a chance with him. Okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess there's just enough to pass to. I don't know if we've ever seen, if Winston's ever been a guy that just goes crazy targeting tight ends.
Not really since college.
So I'd see Njoku's just kind of like, I don't think anything's changed on him, to be honest. He was always kind of like a tight end that it's like, yeah, I don't like, I feel somehow like I just pencil in the 10 to 20 range. And it just depending on the week and health and stuff like that. But maybe there's a little extra juice.
Would you rather start him or Cade Otton?
Cade Otton.
Okay, I think I would go the other way, but I completely understand. Would you go Njoku or Zach Ertz, who had I think he had another touchdown this week.
Oof,
he had 7 receptions, 77 yards, no touchdown.
I'd have to look at the matchup. I don't.
Okay, so that's a matchup one. It's they're in the same range for you.
It could flip flop. I feel like it's in that 10 to 20 range where it's just like there's just a whole bunch of those tight ends.
What about Andrews? Andrews or Njoku?
I'd lean toward Njoku, but
okay.
Yeah, I'm I'm just not feeling it with Andrews and like the volume.
Uh,
Knowing there's probably a two touchdown game in there somewhere, but I think Njoku might have one of those too. So
yeah, I mean Andrews has scored in 3 straight weeks. He's always been a good red zone threat. That being said, if you could trade Andrews and get Njoku plus something, I would absolutely do that because I think they're pretty close, and I'm not that far out from where you are. I'm saying Njoku might be the better one rest of season. But that's a good first run through our Dumb and Dumber game.
okay.
Let's move on to the favorite section of the week, and that is the asshole of the week. I have a number of people I can call out here.
Okay, Mr. Costanza.
You know, we are quickly getting into Festivus season. I guess before I go, since I have many options, do you have one this week?
The Jordan Love thing really hurt.
Yeah.
I don't think any of the. I mean, I've been dealing with these deep wide receiver pools where it's like there's just a bunch of guys like the Darrell Mooney types,
Mm-hmm.
and it's tough to end. Yeah, so you occasionally mean that a minor one didn't cost me, but a minor one for George Pickens not getting that other foot in. Somehow going 5 yards in an end zone and not being able to get one of his feet in play. Or a knee or whatever that was. I mean, yeah, that was a fun one where I wasn't watching it live. I saw the box score. I saw the touchdown. I got excited because I had him on the team, and then it didn't. I'm like, oh, one of those toe tappers. You see the play, you're like, what? I've never seen that. And in all the years I've watched football, I've never seen someone be that close, that far in play, and somehow not get a foot down. Like it was almost the equivalent of like he caught a ball, a giant grabbed his foot while it was outside and marched it 5 yards out. Like that would. So I'll give it that, but it was comical, and it cost them 4 points, and I was rooting for the Giants. Although it does get to the point in the year where you're like, at what point are you kind of like, once you can't make the playoffs, you're kind of, it is a weird thing where I've just found it better sometimes not to watch. Because
it is sometimes.
Because I mean, the Giants cost themselves Jaden Daniels with a stupid win or two. It's like, how could you be rooting for that? And you got they got Malik. You'd have to think about it if someone like, let's just put this one out there before you get to your assholes. Would you trade in real life Malik Neighbors for Caleb Williams? I'm going to start with yes on that one.
I mean, I would take Caleb every time.
Right. And would you do it for Jaden Daniels? I feel like you gotta.
I mean, I would take Caleb and Jaden over Neighbors. Sure.
Right. So I feel like those are no-brainers. Drake May?
Maybe.
Right. So you see, it's still like at a point where it's like, damn, the stupid wins. Like the Giants sucked as much as Washington last year. And so, like,
part of it is that, like, when Daniel Jones has a healthy O-line, he doesn't look like the world's worst quarterback. It's just when he has a bad O-line, he looks like the world's worst quarterback.
No, well, yeah, but it's saying that it's the difference between like and McLaren when given a good quarterback looks like he doesn't look like the world's worst wide receiver. But I'm just saying,
McLaurin's been pretty good in his career with terrible quarterbacks.
He's been good, right? It's a difference between a good wide receiver and like Neighbors has the potential of being like great, but the reality is, and I'm just saying, like, Daniel Jones being a competent quarterback versus like a guy who has a higher ceiling. Yeah, I guess I still say like, so yeah, there's a part of me that's like, man, yeah, I'd like the Giants to get another premium pick, but although it's gonna be an awful. I don't see it's gonna be an awful quarterback year. It doesn't look like it's Carson Beck is not impressing me. My boy Quinn Ewers isn't impressing me. The guy in LSU I don't trust. Like I don't think
it's Cam Ward right now. Cam Ward just looks the best out of any
I know
quarterback, and it's not even close.
And I'm not sure I would definitely take Caleb and Daniels over him, and I'm not sure I draft Drake May ahead of him. So I'm just saying, like, when there's only one, like that just does not portend well. Like I've no, so it very well may be that the Giants just like, I don't know. I don't see it in the draft. That's all I'm saying. Yeah. Okay, on to your multitude of a-holes.
Yeah. Deebo Samuel, could you please finish a game? Just going back to last season. I mean, I've been your biggest supporter. I've owned you every single year of your career in one league or another. Like, can you just stay healthy for like a full game, please? Tyreek Stevenson, Bears corner. You've all seen the video and the images. Yeah, just go over there. I mean, it's a ridiculous play to happen. It should never happen. It's so stupid. And then a special cross sport shout out because I'm watching the World Series. I actually have it on as we're recording this as well. Shout out to the asshole Yankee fans who grabbed Mookie Betts' arm, wrist, and glove, pulled the ball out. May you burn in hell and never be allowed inside a baseball stadium again. Yeah. I'm good with that.
Okay.
That's good to finish it up.
Yeah, that Hail Mary was ridiculous. But I somehow the worst part wasn't the trash talking and the late thing. It was somehow that every Bear decided to like jump at where the ball was landing, and no one stayed back.
Nobody back, and if you look, there was nobody forward, which is the other place you generally put somebody.
You just put one or two guys. Like it's gonna probably deflect back. That's always where I would went when I would play like flag football or touch football. It's always like the Hail Mary. It's like you don't try to touch the ball in the air. You ain't catch it. Like you're standing like two things down, hoping it just pops into your mitt, your mitts.
Yeah,
I could pull the Noah. I tried to pull a Noah Brown. But yeah. So I think so on that. Yeah, tough loss.
Yeah, that one's gonna hurt. It was a really good game. Bears battled back. I really thought like, okay, it's a good win. We're gonna, moving in the right direction. Everything's trending. And then just the worst possible thing that could possibly happen happened. And I felt it. I felt it was coming. I knew it was happening. Anyways, I won't drag on about my Bears. We'll end the show. If you have questions, youtube.com/Razzball Fantasy. There's the Twitter. I'm at RazBdon, at Rudy Gamble. There's the Sunday Start Sit show that's live. I might be sitting in on that this week if I have time. So all those options if you have more questions. Until next week, Rudy, good luck in your matchups. Pick the right people. Talk to you later.